Hello and welcome to the Slam. We, this week, have new graphics, a new title. I don't know if you noticed. There is a point where it does look like we're in Doctor Who, but it's not. We are here as normal. I'm Jim Smallman. I'm your host every week when we have a bit of a natter about wrestling. Our studio guests, two regular guests this week, Rob McNichol from The Sun and newly crowned wrestling champion Rhia O'Reilly.
Yes.
Quickly tell, we'll talk more about this later on, but where did you win a title this week? Where did you win it?
At War Showdown 2 in Switzerland, I became their first ever women's champion. So
yeah.
Pretty awesome, yes.
Yeah, I've seen a picture of you with the belt, which you did look very happy indeed. So we will come to that later on, but we will start off as we always do. We film this on a Tuesday, so we tend to talk about Raw. Now, the big issue I want to talk about on Raw is not the fact that The Rock and Cena are going at it. We'll talk about that later. It's not Triple H and Shawn Michaels. That's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the biggest thing that's happened in the WWE in a long time, which is Santino Marella is now the United States champion. Thus, there he is. Thus making my year.
There he is, trying to cry.
Yeah,
he couldn't quite cry, could he? But
don't you think that it's almost like they've gone, do you know what? You really have put the work in. We should probably give you something.
I think it probably is. That's what they did to Ryder, essentially. Right? I mean, Zack Ryder's had the US belt for a little bit, and obviously it's gone through Jack Swagger and now to Santino. But I think they did that to Ryder, and they respected his efforts. And it does say a lot about where wrestling is and what the US title means. That, you know, several years ago, if the Intercontinental Championship had changed hands on television, it would genuinely have been the biggest story, and it would be what we were talking about first, without any irony whatsoever, wouldn't it? The fact that it wasn't an announced match, it only lasted a few minutes. I didn't dislike it, by the way. I thought it was a lot of fun, but it is a bit of a shame of where the belt has ended up, that we are sort of just like joking about it rather than taking it seriously.
I would love it, and I know we've spoken about this before, but I would love it if they actually now started changing how they book Santino to actually make him a viable character. Because I know we've mentioned it several times on the Slam that he can actually wrestle, and he is seen as legitimately tough in the locker room and stuff like that. So it'd be great if they actually used him. I know he's a bit small by WWE standards, in that he's probably shorter than me. But
then I think both of their world champions are probably about a similar height, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Punk's maybe a little bit bigger, but Daniel Bryan's smaller than Santino.
Yeah, Punk's 6'1", I think, but Daniel Bryan's only 5'9", 5'10". So, you know, but I'm pleased. I like to think you're both pleased about this.
Yeah, I'm really happy for Santino. I think it's about time they did something. Like, as hilarious as he is, and he always gets the crowd, but the fans are so behind him, and he hasn't had a legitimate push at any point. So I think it is about time that they recognise that, you know, there is more to him than his comedy side. But
also as well, there's nothing wrong with humour in wrestling.
No, of course not.
When I was talking to Mick on the show last week, Mick Foley, he was talking about the fact that his career really started taking a step up when he started being funny. He didn't become the WWE champion until he started being a more humorous character. That's true. And, you know, this week we've had The Rock doing his history lessons, which is thankfully a bit more of a return to form for The Rock, because he was rubbish the week before. So it's nice to have him actually being humorous again. And it's almost like the promos used to be when The Rock first started taking off in the Attitude Era, isn't it?
Yeah, most definitely. I thought I agree. I totally agree with that assessment. We were discussing before the show whether we think it was deliberate that Rock was rubbish last week or not. It did seem to be, for him to just have such a one-off bad week, and he did have a stinker last week. We think it was probably to build up Cena and to make Cena look stronger. But I love those history lesson things this week, particularly the first one when he was throwing the merchandise in the river. Yeah, just tremendous. Back to Rock. That was the Rock I remember. I think that's probably the third time it's happened. The first promo he did last year, the one at Survivor Series, I thought was fantastic. And then this one. I think everything in between's been okay, but nothing too special. This was what I want to see.
Rhia, we discussed this off air though. I mean, there is one issue with him throwing stuff in the river, isn't there?
I know. That's just a really bad role model. Littering. I mean, come on.
Cena would never litter.
That would be brilliant.
John Cena would not litter.
Cena would never litter, and he can lift more weight than you.
Yeah.
That's two reasons you should cheer him.
Rise above littering. That's what I want to see. That's a new T-shirt.
I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to get it so there's a fairly even reaction. Now, if you book a face versus face feud right, like Hogan Warrior from WrestleMania 6, but look, that was in Toronto, so there was no hometown advantage. The problem with this is no matter what you do, Cena's going to get booed. I mean, Cena was getting booed last night in his hometown. So he's going to get, in Miami, he's going to get unbelievably booed.
Without a doubt.
But it does look now like they're not going to turn him heel, doesn't it?
I know, I'm so disappointed by that. It's like, it's about time. Everyone wants to see it.
There is a suggestion that, because actually this last couple of weeks I've seen more positive comments about Cena in the last 2 weeks than I have done probably in a couple of years, from people saying, I think he's been great on the mic, I've got more respect for him. What if they have a 4 or 5 week period where they're starting to build him up, people start to respect him, and then he goes when you're not expecting? Are they going to forget this gradual build into it? Maybe at the moment where people are just starting to accept him, that's the moment he turns. Could happen.
Yeah, I really, really want them to turn him, but I was talking to someone about this last night, about the time that they tried turning Austin on The Rock in Texas. So sometimes they're not that clued up on where people are going to get booed.
But people didn't want to boo Austin. There is a point now where a lot of people want to, and indeed do, boo Cena. Yeah. People didn't want to boo Austin. He just wasn't someone that people said, I want to hate this guy. Yeah. And I think the moment has to come where you turn someone is when... Because it happened with Rock the other way around. When he was in the Nation of Domination, people couldn't help but cheer him and love the guy. So they went, do you know what? And they pulled the plug and they made him a babyface. You can't do that with Austin because people didn't want to boo him. No. We've got a guest on the Skype wall
who happens to be a very good friend of mine who currently looks incredibly confused. Billy Kirkwood, are you there, sir?
Yes, I am, mate. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Sorry, I was looking at a picture of your chest on Facebook, so that's why I was a little confused.
Why were you doing that, you strange man?
Well, do you know, it's nearly time for my 5 o'clock self-love, so we'll just move away from that. I'm very well. I'm in the rudest health. I'm loving listening to all the interesting sort of Cena chat that's going on, and you know what's going to happen with him. I think it's kind of wide open, and that's a good thing that we're all talking about it. You know, where are people going forward with Cena and what's going to happen? I think it's kind of good. They're going the right way, but I don't know. I don't know what my personal thoughts are just yet.
I have just been asked by our producer, who has gone, yes. Can you get Billy to move the whiteboard that is kind of distracting because it has a rude word on it? Obviously, it's the Cockney word for funny. Yeah. In case you were wondering.
Sorry, it was me. I was working on my Edinburgh show. Just give us a second.
Jim, are you saying you've never heard of Fanny Jokes, who's the finest wrestler ever to come out of Latvia?
No, never.
The diva from Riga, they call her. She's wonderful.
There should be someone called the diva from Riga. That should be Aksana's name. Now, Billy.
Yes.
Me and you, we're mates. We're both stand-up comedians, both heavily tattooed, both like our wrestling, which is why we bond so much when we happen to be lucky enough to work together.
Yes.
I presume you watched Raw last night?
I've literally just caught up with Raw about just a couple of hours ago. Like most people, I tend to catch up with the next day because I'm not staying up to 2 o'clock in the morning. But I watched Raw. It's I always find this period between, as we're sort of on the real road to WrestleMania. I know they're promoting it as the road to WrestleMania, like from way back in November, but this is the genuine sort of real road to WrestleMania. I don't know. Everything seems to be drilling along nicely. I'm not getting particularly excited. I enjoyed Triple H. The Triple H HBK thing I really enjoyed, because it's always a little bit embarrassing to see the fact that Triple H can come back. Sorry, beg your pardon. HBK can come back off the sidelines and just absolutely knock it out the park every single time.
I'd agree with that, because I was watching it and thinking he's so good at promos. Because the problem with the Triple H HBK promo is for the first 2 minutes of it, Triple H looked half asleep. Whereas HBK genuinely looked on point and like he knew what he was doing.
I think that was Hunter trying to do his serious face. His serious face looks like a
coma. What happens if he does a serious face?
Yeah. You mean Triple H's serious face?
Yes.
Yeah. It looks like he's kind of constipated, and I'm not really saying that because everything just seems to shut down, and it's just...
That was a really good impression, dude. I mean, that...
Actually, I've been working on it. I do kids' TV. But,
he's not joking. He really does. What have you just filmed? Because I was working with Junior Simpson. I know filmed this with you. What have you just filmed for kids' TV? Because I want to see people to see the transformation from you as you are.
The second series of a show called School of Silence, where I play a mad German professor. And with my assistant Helmut, who is a glove puppet, who I voice as well, at the same time as I'm talking. It's not like, I'm not a ventriloquist or anything like that. It's purely the most bizarre thing ever. And have you heard my German accent, Jim?
No, let's hear it.
You're not likely to in the show either. I am German you've ever. I don't want to I'm praying there's a season 3, so don't. You know, I'm not shoot myself in the foot, but it's kind of based on Siegfried and Roy.
Yeah.
And I have to. My keyword to get into it is chocolate cake. That seems to be how I get into my German voice.
So at no point soon are you going to FCW to given a German gimmick despite being Scottish. I mean, because it's not like the WWE ever do that. Like, let's say, put a guy who's of Italian heritage as a Russian for a bit and then change him back to being Italian. I mean, that'd never happen, would it?
What? That's ridiculous. Well, I'll put it to you this way, Jim. I am willing to sell out at the first available opportunity. If they want me to play Baby Boy Billy and I come down to the ring in a nappy and defecate, that'll be just, I'm happy to do that. No, let's just make that happen.
We've seen a little clip of you on this show before because you work for ICW in Glasgow, don't you?
That's right, yeah. I signed up with ICW about 6 months ago. Originally, it was a sort of one-shot deal. I'd been aware, because it's quite a healthy scene here in the UK in terms of independent stuff, and a very healthy one in Scotland. And I got asked to come in for a one-night, guest ring announcer. And that went, I think the guys literally thought, oh, we'll get a comedian in, and but it turned out that, as you know, I've been a fan of wrestling from the minute I could understand what wrestling was, in terms of just not shapes. They asked me to come back again and again. I'll be honest, I understood why they wanted me as a ring announcer because I'm quite energetic and quite, pump up the crowd, but you can't really do that as a ring announcer. Then the opportunity came along to could host their TV show on my channel and do colour commentary, which I'm much happier with. So now I'm doing that for them, and I'm helping doing a little bit of creative stuff backstage as well. I'm the sort of consultant on the TV show, so it's all very exciting.
Yeah, and also you've got your own podcast as well, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I've started back my own podcast that I'd got rid of. Sorry, there's a couple. There's the One Wrestling Show, which we do live every Tuesday night on Pulse FM, although you can now get it on the onewrestlingshow.com. We do that every Tuesday night. We talk about all facets of wrestling. Try and get on celebrity, I'd say wrestling interviews. We had Hulk Hogan last week. We had Eric Bischoff the week before that. We've got ODB tonight. But we're not just purely, and we've got Dennis Stamp as a regular on the show.
Ah, nice.
That's awesome.
Dennis Stamp.
Well, I did one of the Mick Foley. I did a few of the Mick Foley tour supports. I know you did one as well.
Yeah, I think you're leading the league table. I think I've done 3, and I think you've done 4.
I have done 4, so I win. But someone asked him a Dennis Stamp question at the gig in Birmingham, because obviously at the end of the gigs they do this question answer session, and this guy just stood up and went, "When's Dennis Stamp going to get booked?" Which about 5 people in the audience got, and me and Brendan Burns were sat there just going, "Yeah."
Well, the thing was, we couldn't actually believe in the One Wrestling Show. We thought because one of the things we kind of like to do is because there's this lovely sort of retro pop culture that exists in wrestling with a certain generation. I mean, a lot of the new generation wrestling fans don't even know who Dennis Stamp is, and realistically, a lot of us only do because of oh God, I've already forgotten the name.
Beyond the Mat.
Beyond the Mat, of course, and sort of and obviously you can see stuff that he's done in AWA. There's not a lot of videos, and we thought it'd be great to have him on the show to do an interview. How hard can this be? And it turned out to be unbelievably easy to get a hold of him, because we literally went to Amarillo, Texas, found out bug exterminators. There's a Mr. D Stamp, made a phone call, and there he was on the show. So and now he's on as a regular. He shares all these fantastic stories, talking about like times in Japan, wrestling Bret Hart, his first match, and Terry Funk, and he's just became, I don't want to use the phrase mascot of the show, but he's become very much a part of the broadcast team on the radio show, which has been an absolute delight to do, because it's myself and a couple of other wrestlers, and it's kind of intriguing how these things, I guess the weird thing I find is I made peace with the fact years and years ago that I would never be involved with wrestling, and I went off and I became a comedian, and for comedy to sort of bring me back into it, it's a bit It's a bit bizarre.
Yeah, I've had exactly the same experience over the last couple of years. It's weird.
You know what I mean? It's not that I'm complaining. I mean, it's been great working with Mick and ICW and everything else. But comedy is my first love, I will admit. But wrestling's always been there in my heart.
Now, before we let you go, mate, you've said you've been a wrestling fan for quite some time. What's your earliest wrestling memory before we let you go?
Oh, well, I'll answer that in two parts just quick. Number one would be watching World of Sport on Saturday afternoons with my mum.
Nice.
That kind of show my age. I'm 32, but I caught it just at the sort of end of it being broadcast on ITV. I absolutely loved it. I always remember Fit Finlay and his valet with the sort of Indian headdress and that type of thing. I always remember that and thinking that was so cool. Second thing would be a friend of mine giving me a loan of Wrestlemania 3 on a sort of pirate cassette. I think about 1990, and I was just blown away. I just thought, this is just amazing.
Yeah, you just can't imagine how many people were there as well. I mean, it's 93,000 people, and you watch it and just go,
exactly.
What?
I mean, before then, it had just been British wrestling, and down at I was aware of American wrestling, but to see those two transitions, it just absolutely blew my mind. And now, I think like a lot of us, Jim, you sort of have this, appetite for every different style of wrestling. I mean, I love ROH, New Japan, All Japan, any type of wrestling. I'm happy to stop dead in the street. I would stop a funeral to talk about wrestling if that opportunity came about.
I love the idea of you stopping it just to see what their face would be like. Listen, mate.
I'll take that bet.
Quickly, remind us of your podcast website, and then we'll let you go.
Well, you can check me out on onewrestlingshow.com. You can also check me out at billykirkwood.co.uk or at billykirkwood. And, of course, don't forget to check out ICW as well. Friday nights on my channel, 219.
Thank you very much. Billy, lovely to speak to you, mate. I will hopefully see you soon. I've not seen you in a while, so I'll see you soon, mate.
I'll talk to you very soon, Jim. Take care.
Nice one. Thanks, Billy. That was Billy Kirkwood, awesome Scottish stand-up comedian and now involved in wrestling in quite a few ways as well. Do check him out if you can. We're going to go for a quick break. We will be back in 2 minutes. That's the Doctor Who music. It's not Doctor Who. This is the Slam Part 2. I am Jim Smallman here with you talking about wrestling every week on Sports Tonight Live. Joining me in the studio, regular guest Rob McNichol from The Sun, Rhia O'Reilly, ladies Swiss wrestling champion extraordinaire. Have you got chocolate?
Yes, absolutely. I got free chocolate. I was very happy about it.
Is the belt made of chocolate?
I wish. No, I don't wish it was made of chocolate because then it would be gone.
Yeah, it would melt.
It would be sad.
It would be very sad indeed. Now,
so you're showing your range there. So last week it was talking hardcore wrestling with Mick Foley, and this week is your belt made of chocolate?
No, it is. It is. Literally, there is nothing in here but nonsense. Now, talking of women wrestling, WWE this week, the most effective heel in the WWE is Eve Torres. I think she's more effective as a heel than everyone else. Dolph Ziggler's second. She's the most effective.
Of everyone in the company, not just the women?
Everyone in the company.
That's a
I
big
think
statement.
she's brilliant. I think the way she has managed to get crowds from going, I think she's lovely and pretty, to we hate her, we're going to call her bad names in a PG environment. Now, this is obviously, now you've worked both face and heel, haven't you?
Yeah, I've done both, yeah.
So what do you think's easier?
That's a really hard question. I think they both have their challenges. I guess as a face, you have to want people to love you. That's the whole point, you want people to care about you. And I guess as a heel, you have to just embrace the inner mean and be a bit grr. I don't know. I think it's hard sometimes. Like I love being a heel, but like I'm a nice person, and then I think I get to say all the mean things I would say in real life if I wasn't so nice.
Because the thing is, we've been in the show a few times now. We know you quite well.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine you being a heel. Yeah. Because you're essentially a nice human being.
I'm not very nice when I'm Rhia O'Reilly.
Oh, amazing.
I'm not so nice sometimes when I'm wrestling. I don't know. You get in the moment, I suppose, and then you just want to win. So it's okay. You can just be rude. And like that's the whole thing. Like Eve says and stuff. She's like, she'd be a nice person, but sometimes just being a bad guy gets you more places in life, doesn't it? So
nice guys finish last.
That's
Rob
the one.
McNichol.
That's the one.
That was the original catchphrase for Ken Anderson when he wanted to do his his catchphrase in WWE to be "Nice guys finish last." Thank God I'm an a-hole, as it were. That's where it came from. He wasn't allowed to do it, and then he did it in TNA. So that's where the catchphrase comes from.
Look at that.
Bit of
knowledge. Look at you with a fact. I mean, and a fact that's completely on topic. Something as well. I mean, I would have just come out with a ridiculous fact that I've made up, but I mean, you've actually.
You don't know that I
haven't,
haven't, to be fair. But
I mean,
that was a real one.
We like to presume that because you're a journalist, you would never make things up. So well done. Now, obviously, the person whose life she ruined, Zack Ryder, now back on WWE television, because obviously that really career-threatening injury has now been pretty fixed.
Well, he's got a new T-shirt. Of course, he has to be back.
Of course, slightly different headband as well, by the looks of it. I still don't like Zack Ryder because essentially he's Robbie E, but in the WWE. It's the same character as in TNA.
It is.
It's just a jersey. It's like, I don't know, have any British wrestling companies had a Geordie Shaw character yet?
It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, there's Georgie Shaw. Do you guys not know about Georgie Shaw?
No?
She was like the women's champion up in UKW. So, yes,
it
exists.
Amazing.
Georgie Shaw.
Georgie Shaw it's such an easy name to do as well.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, are you guys pleased to see him back? Because he just winds me up.
I've always thought that I cottoned on quite late to his YouTube show. There's a few people saying how great it was, and I thought, I'll have a look, and I watched sort of 5 or 6 episodes in one hit, and I loved it. I thought it was really funny, really clever. I don't think that Zack Ryder has been the Zack Ryder they've put on TV. So I think when people haven't really got the internet thing, they've seen his TV, but I don't think they've done a great job with him, particularly since he's been on telly as this character. But I think it's because they didn't really necessarily embrace the internet one. But I think that the story you mentioned about how they've turned Eve, and I think it's more of a credit to the storyline than her. I'm going to be honest, but I think what they did this week by having him, confront her backstage and she kissed him and his face lit up. I think he's going to be everyone's mate that's been let down by a girl at some point, and you're supposed to go, oh come on man, you're better than her and whatever. I think that's how it's going to be.
Leave it, she's not worth it.
Well, quite right.
Everyone's done it in that voice.
Exactly.
Outside a kebab shop.
We've all had
in
a drink.
London.
Just leave it. Stop fighting.
Good. If they delivered promos like that in the WWE, if everyone in the WWE had someone like a mate who tried to drag him away, saying "Leave it, she's not worth it," realism would be back, if nothing else. We've got another Skyper joining us on the Skype wall, friend of the show, Jay Barker. Hello, Jay. How are you, mate?
Hi, I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. I presume you watched Raw last night.
Yeah, that's why I'm knackered.
Brilliant. In your accent as well, that sentence is so much funnier than it should be. It's great. Now, Jay, I mean, what were your feelings on Raw? I mean, one thing I want to talk about is HBK and Triple H. And, I mean, from my point of view, when HBK comes back, it shows up, for me, it shows up how boring Triple H is. And how much better HBK is than quite a lot of the roster, certainly at talking. I mean, obviously he's a bit broken down physically now. I mean, what did you make of that whole sort of standoff at the beginning?
I liked it, but yeah, I think you're right. Shawn Michaels, I mean, I don't think a lot of people can touch him in regards to being entertaining on the mic and in the ring. And he does make Triple H a lot more interesting when he's in there with him. And it's good to see him back. I think, I don't know where they're going to go with it, but it makes the whole Hell in a Cell match a little bit more interesting. It's going to be big anyway, so should be good.
I mean, having him as referee, which I think makes sense, as long as he doesn't wear the little tiny shorts with the ref shirt.
God,
yeah.
Because I forget where that was from, but he needs to never do that again.
Yeah.
I think that might have been the first episode of SmackDown.
It may well have been. But as long as he doesn't do that, I'm quite happy. I mean, as it stands at the minute, when we had Mick Foley on last week, he said that he would like to commentate on the match. So you have him commentating on it, HBK in the ring as the guest referee, plus the Undertaker, plus Triple H. You've then got the 4 best Hell in a Cell exponents in one match, and surely that's an extra marketing point, isn't it, Jay?
Yeah, I don't know. It would be amazing to have that. I don't know if they will, but it'd be great. It makes sense because they're the 4 big Hell in a Cell competitors, and I don't know. I think they keep billing it as the end of an era, so I really think they're trying to build to that, and if they get Mick Foley involved in that as well, it'd be amazing if they did.
As long as he doesn't have to fall off anything, because he's a mate now, and I quite like him. And I don't want him to get hurt. Now, you predicted that HBK would be guest referee, didn't you?
Did I?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah. Apparently on
Don't
this,
say that,
apparently
Jay.
on-
Just go,
apparently on
yes.
this show, according to our producer.
yes, I did. Yes, I did.
You
I
predicted
definitely
it.
remember that.
Look at that. You're
I
downplaying
did,
it so much.
Well,
You know.
I thought it'd be quite cool if he did. I thought it'd make sense if he did.
Yeah.
It'd make it a little bit more interesting.
Now, there's a couple of little fashion things. Obviously, you're a fashionable man, Jay. There's a couple of little fashion things I've got to talk to you about. Number one, Jack Swagger's new haircut, and I'm going to ask the panel this as well. What do you reckon of Jack Swagger's new haircut, Jay?
Did you see what that did to his camera?
I
when
did.
you
It made his
mentioned that?
camera go. Such is the quality of that haircut.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything about it.
Don't you think it
No,
made him look like a
not like it.
Victorian steampunk villain?
I'm going to be honest. I didn't notice it until I looked at the running order.
Yeah, I didn't.
Honestly, I didn't notice he had a different haircut.
Did you not?
No.
It's all over the internet. People, you know, there's whole websites set up. There's a new Twitter feed. Jack Swagger's haircut. There isn't. I made that up.
There is now.
There is now.
There is now.
Me and Jay are doing it. And also Teddy Long's suit. We've been asked to talk about.
Amazing.
What? This is the thing about the Teddy Long Johnny Ace feud that winds me up, is that we're meant to be sympathetic to Teddy Long, but Teddy Long does exactly the same thing as John Laurinaitis, but he's just biased towards the faces. He comes out and makes a match to the faces. He will always stand in their favour. So essentially, he's just doing the same. He's doing the same thing. I mean, are you as wound up about this as me, Jay? Because it really bugs me.
It does bug me a bit because it's a shame because I feel more sympathetic to Johnny Ace because he gets David the Tonga in a coffee cup and Teddy Long gets Oksana, a hot girl. So I think
Santino.
really Teddy Long's got it all going for him.
The thing is, I quite like a Tonga now, mainly because I admire anyone who can drink that much coffee and not have a seizure, because that is a big coffee cup.
The thing is, that's also. It's amazing how a tiny little thing can be so effective. Because it is annoying, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
it looks like such a prat drinking it. It's a tiny little point, but it does make him annoying. And it's the same thing with Jack Swagger having a silly haircut or whatever. There's the tiniest little thing to make someone annoying can actually be better than 10 promos.
Being a vegan,
Yeah.
saying the word yes a lot.
Yes.
But that is good though when he does the yes, because it winds me up when Daniel Bryan
Well,
does
the yes thing, we're going to talk about this in part 3, because if you watch the Ring of Honor pay-per-view at the weekend, every single Ring of Honor fan was chanting yes to everything, thus making it the coolest thing in the world. Jay, what match are you looking forward to most at WrestleMania, mate, before we let you go?
Hell in a Cell. Gotta go Hell in a Cell. Yeah.
Can you just make that noise you made before what you say Hell in a Cell again? Because I want to record that as my text message alert tone, which is just slightly sleepy Jay Barker awaking from a slumber. Can you just do that noise again for me, please? Good.
I think that was it.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
It is. It almost feels like it should be accompanied with a slow motion Santino trombone.
To keep it on topic, was it World of Sport that had the opening titles with the aeroplane going through the air? Because it sounded like the opening note of that.
Oh yeah, nice. Look at that. Look at you keeping everything on topic today.
You're on
yeah.
it
Doing my
today,
best.
aren't
I
you?
know. Wow. There's a future in this for you.
Thanks, man.
You want water?
Jay Barker, thank you very much for getting in touch, mate. We will no doubt speak to you again either before or after WrestleMania. Thanks for getting in touch again, mate, and we'll speak to you soon.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. As Jay's picture quality gradually got worse because he was clearly speaking to us from a Skype payphone somewhere and the pips were going.
I think Jay has come up with a brilliant TV idea in the sense of being someone that's like Nostradamus but with amnesia.
Yeah.
Someone that can predict the future but then immediately forgets it again. I like that.
That's it's good that. It
Yeah, I'm
works.
going to write to Sky One.
They'll make that into a programme. I'm a slightly absent-minded.
Okay.
It will be. Never mind.
Never mind.
I've run with the idea, and to be honest, I've just run out of words. And we've kind of run out of time in this part, so we're back in a couple of minutes after these adverts. I'm going to talk Ring of Honor and TNA. We'll see you in 2. Part 3, welcome back to The Slam. My name is Jim Smallman. We're here every week on Sports Night Live talking about wrestling. Joining me in the studio, regular guests Rob McNichol and Rhia O'Reilly, who now has gold to celebrate. And talk about that in this part. However, last week, I was as excited as I've ever been as long as I've been doing this show, and probably most of my life, when we had the hardcore legend himself, Mick Foley, in the studio. We had a bit of a chat with him, and here's a little clip of what he had to say. Who is your favourite person to work with in the WWE at the moment, if you had to work with someone?
Oh, man. If I had to?
Yeah, if you had to work with someone in WWE, who would you want to work with the most?
Like for a dream match, or?
Yeah, just like, let's say for a dream match, right now.
Dream match. Ziggler.
Ziggler. Ooh.
I don't think I'll ever get to where I can physically.
I think you could do what you did with Edge, though, with Ziggler, and that whole, really.
But unfortunately, it's not 2006 anymore.
So. Is there anything that you ever look at and think other wrestlers doing and think, thank God I didn't do that?
Yes, anything remotely athletic. More so. I look at the guys with the spray tans and think, thank God I didn't do that.
Nothing wrong with being pasty.
Nothing. They have to have a contrast, right? Yeah. Look at Sheamus, right? Yeah. It works for him because everyone else is orange. I mean, and I like The Miz, and I really want to thank him personally. He retweeted my thing about the Reign campaign, which is a big surprise. But with that being said, and with the fact that I think he's a really great character and a very good wrestler being said, he looked like a pumpkin at the Royal Rumble. Thank God I never went that route of the spray tan. Oh.
That is now friend of the show, Mick Foley, who joined me last week, had a bit of a natter, and genuinely the nicest man. Probably not just in wrestling, just a wonderful human being. If you want to watch the full interview, and it's nearly an hour long, he speaks about loads of really cool stuff. He is such a nice man to talk to, and he was really relaxed when he did the interview. If you want to catch it, you can find it on the Sports Night Live channel on YouTube. So search for it on YouTube, Mick Foley interview, and you can see me having the full natter with him there. Now, speaking of Mick Foley, the person who organised Mick's stand-up tour, and therefore the reason that we could get him in the studio and have a chat with him, is my good friend Chris Brooker, who is up on our Skype wall. Now, hello, Chris.
Hey, Jim. How you doing, man?
I'm all right. I'm glad we've caught you halfway through your day at the call centre. Well done.
Yeah, I've got to keep this up quite a good pace because I've got people on queue. Stats to manage.
Yeah, no, it's fine, mate. Now, firstly, the Mick Foley tour is over with now.
Yes.
But what fun! It was great, wasn't it?
It's one of those things that was so good. When I look back on it now, I almost have to convince myself it really happened. There's so many surreal, wonderful moments. It particularly realizes it's someone that I watched on TV from this very couch in the Royal Rumble this year, and thinking this is the same couch that when we stopped off on the last tour at our flat, that Mick Foley has sat right here on this very couch. So if anyone wants to pop round, sniff it. I don't know what people do these days, but I suspect this might one day go on eBay.
No, now you're heading to WrestleMania, aren't you?
I certainly am.
I'm probably going to WrestleMania.
Probably. Come on, man up.
I know.
Yeah, exactly. He has to go, right?
Exactly. It's not even as if you have a choice. I think, all right, this should be a democracy. Hands up if you think Jim should go to WrestleMania.
Yeah, both hands.
All right, yeah, I think that's me going, to be honest.
If you go, will you be back for the Tuesday to record this?
Yes, I will come back on the Tuesday morning to record a very special jet lag edition of the Slam.
Jim Smallman. Beautiful.
To be fair, it's not like I ever look awake. Now, the other thing we want to talk about, obviously I know you're looking forward to WrestleMania, but we spoke a lot about WWE so far today, is Ring of Honor. Now, it was Ring of Honor's 10th anniversary this weekend. They had an pay-per-view to celebrate that. Now, you've been to watch Ring of Honor event in Liverpool, didn't you?
I certainly did. A few years ago, I think it would have been 2007. They had a double-header in Liverpool, which was the end of their 5th year festival, and the highlight of which was Samoa Joe's last match for Ring of Honor. Which was quite something.
And they had some, to be fair, they had some cracking matches in Liverpool in their history, haven't they? I believe they had the first unification match.
It was unified. It was Danielson against McGuinness.
Which was, I remember watching on DVD, wasn't there for it, but was a tremendous match, absolutely tremendous match. Now, they've had 10 years, really. If you look at how the WWE is working out at the minute, they've had 10 years of really finding big stars, haven't they? And if you look at who the two champions are in WWE at the minute, there's a fair bit to say that Ring of Honor helped make those guys, isn't there?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it at all. You in the absence of the territories that you had in the old days, you now have a promotion like Ring of Honor where people can make it's like a halfway point between your sort of high school gym indies and your big TV super shows. And if you think of the people like CM Punk, like Daniel Bryan, to give him, as someone called it, his slave name. I think someone said it that way. but there's so many people that have come through, and they sort of, even if you look at Samoa Joe, who went on to TNA, it's really given them the chance to cut their teeth at that sort of level. But I think it's also really it's such a rabid show to be part of. The Liverpool shows were so rowdy, so loud. It was the Liverpool Olympia, which was a place we were on Friday, with was it Friday? No, Thursday. The days blur with Mick's show, and it's an amazing place, and it was so loud and so raucous. And when you think that the people you saw there, you'd see Davey Richards, Homicide, Nigel McGuinness, Desmond Wolfe in TNA, all these guys, and to see them in that kind of atmosphere, Colt Cabana, it's quite an amazing thing, because it feels like across it's the intimacy of an indie show with the sort of passion of a really big promotion. And it's quite unlike anything else I've experienced. So two of the best shows I've ever seen in my life as a wrestling fan.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously when you're going out to WrestleMania, they always run shows WrestleMania weekend, and I've got to I believe it's the Civic Hall in Fort Lauderdale, which is obviously very, very close to Miami, where WrestleMania is being held. Are you going to try and go down and catch either the Friday or Saturday show?
Quite possibly. The thing that's really intrigued me about Ring of Honor in Miami this year is that Lance Storm is making a return to the ring, which he does infrequently these days. And he's always been one of my favourite wrestlers from back in ECW, right through WCW, WWE till today. And he's taken Mike Bennett. So it's one of those things that's kind of a hook for me as a bit of a wrestling nerd. I don't know if that's apparent.
No, hardly at all. Hardly at all.
Obviously not. I'm still cool.
Yeah, you are indeed. I mean, you got me to meet Mick, so you know I am forever in your debt, my friend. Listen, I'm going to let you go because I know you've worked incredibly hard over the last couple of weeks, because I saw how tired you were, because you were doing everything. If you went to any of the Mick Foley comedy shows, you'll recognise Chris as the person who took your photo when you were with Mick, sold your T-shirts, sold your programmes, compared the gigs, and pretty much made sure that you all got home safe in his big car. So he is. You've worked incredibly hard. Listen, Chris, thank you for joining us, mate, and I will hopefully see you at WrestleMania, mate.
My pleasure. And no, hopefully about it. I will see you at WrestleMania,
okay.
Smallman.
All
Make
right.
no doubt about it.
All right, thank you for doing a promo at the end. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
We'll see you later, Chris. Thank you very much, mate. That's Chris Brooker, awesome stand-up comedian, the guy who organised the Mick Foley stand-up tour in this country. Now, before we get on to the good news, which is you winning your belt, which I want to talk about in this part, there's been some sad news this week, and a wrestler that some of our viewers will be aware of, and some of our viewers won't, which is Doug Furnas, who famously teamed with Phil LaFon in WWE and ECW. Sadly passed away this week at the age of 50. Now, I remember him being in one of my favourite matches of all time, which is a tag match from All Japan. It's one of very few Dave Meltzer matches that were tag matches from All Japan that he gave 5 stars to, that involved American wrestlers that weren't Steve Williams and Terry Gordy. And it's a tremendous match. If you can look it up, it's Kenta Kobashi and his partner against Furnas and LaFon, and it's the loudest crowd I have ever seen. Just tremendous. It wasn't even a Tokyo Dome show. It was, I think it was in Osaka, and a tremendous match. And he was a phenomenal wrestler. And I think we were talking about this off air. They didn't. Him and Phil LaFon didn't necessarily get the biggest chance in WWE because they weren't the best talkers in the world.
Yeah, they weren't really character based. They would probably actually, you know, how some people come a little bit before their time. People always talk about Dynamite Kid being way before his time. In some ways, these guys were a little bit, in the sense that if they were around now, certainly in North America, they'd have more places to work, such as Ring of Honor and that kind of place, where they'd be much more appreciated for that sort of style. I'll be honest, my experience of him is mainly with his short run with WWF in, I think, around about 94, 95, maybe a bit later.
Yeah.
But I've probably watched more Doug Furnas matches this week.
Yeah.
But one of which was the one you mentioned, because I think you put a link to it on Twitter, and I watched it from there, and just impressive stuff. And some of those Japanese, those kind of strong style matches that you got access to via something like YouTube are really worth checking out, because I think lots of people, including myself, can be kind of ignorant to anything that's not a big show these days, and it's like, but there is such a wealth of stuff that you can go and look at. They are worth. One of which I think I saw him and Fon losing his tag titles to maybe Kenta and to Johnny Ace. I think it was. So it's.
I mean, they were brilliant in Japan, but also I think if you look at a team like the world's greatest tag team in Ring of Honor, so Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin, if you imagine if those guys had been a bit younger when Kurt Angle started taking off, they would have been ideal. Perfect to be with Kurt Angle, because they were very similar to him. There was lots of backdrop suplexes, German suplexes, things like that, and they were genuinely tough guys who put good matches together. I think if you watch any of their stuff, you can imagine them, like you say, being in Ring of Honor or Pro Wrestling Guerrilla now and putting on tremendous matches. I don't think it's too long since he's retired as well, because 50's not that old, really.
It's no age.
For there's plenty of wrestlers who are still wrestling over 50. Is the Undertaker over 50 now?
No, Undertaker's about 45.
Really?
Yeah,
I thought he was older than that. It just seems to have been around forever, doesn't he? That's why. So no, it's very sad that he passed away. But if you do anything this week, I would definitely recommend look up on YouTube some of Doug Furnas and Phil LaFon's matches, some from ECW, some from All Japan Pro Wrestling matches. Some of the matches he were in were absolutely brilliant, and I would heartily recommend taking them in because he was a fantastic wrestler. And it'd be nice. It'd be nice that his legacy, for perhaps some people who haven't heard of him so much, it'd be nice if the sadness of him passing away is passed on with people actually checking out a bit more of his work.
Great
So
point.
that's always. This is a good thing about wrestling is your legacy can extend beyond your years, which is definitely
Without a doubt.
Yeah. We're going to speak to Rhia about your title win in part 4. We're going to save it for the final part of the show. But we're very excited because we're going to speak to Rhia. We're going to speak about a jobber of the week, and I'm going to set you a question of the week. We didn't have one last week because we had a certain Mr. Foley in the studio, so we didn't get a chance to set you a question last week. But we will set one in the next part. We will be back in 2 minutes after these messages. Hello, welcome back to part 4, final part of this week's edition of The Slam. As always, I'm Jim Smallman, your host for every week when we talk about wrestling and various other wrestling-based gossip. And joining me in the studio, Rob McNichol from The Sun and his 4 Horsemen sign, and champion of the world in Switzerland, Rhia O'Reilly. Look, there she is with her title belt. Looking glamorous and victorious as well. Were you face or heel in that match?
Heel.
Heel.
Yeah.
Excellent. How did you win? First of all, who were you up against and where was it?
I was wrestling against Lisa Fury, and don't ask me to pronounce where I wrestled because I'll just destroy it. But it's just outside Zurich. So it's Showdown 2 for War. It was the second big show that they'd done. And I'm their first ever women's champion as well. So
and how many people were in attendance?
I think there was about 400.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's really good. And like Switzerland's starting to really build like a good wrestling foundation. There's not a lot of wrestling there, so it's quite exciting. Like every show that that promoters put on, they've had more and more people come. So it's only going to get bigger and better there, I think,
amazing.
as well. Yeah.
And how did you win? Was there heel-based shenanigans or was it clean?
No, I had a clean win for my title.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's I wasn't very nice throughout the match, but clean win. I was happy.
Nice. How did you finish it?
With the Celtic Cross. So
brilliant.
I was very happy. It was good. I won. I celebrated loads. I kicked Lisa Fury out of the ring. It was. And
did
then
you do a Daniel Bryan? Yes.
A little bit, yes. And then I did like a little pose for every side of the ring, so everyone could see me in my belt. It was very exciting. It was really.
Now this is a purely logistical question. Did you get to bring the belt home with you, or did you have to leave it in Switzerland?
It's in Switzerland.
Because it used to be the case, didn't it, in the old territories? If you were the NWA heavyweight champion like Ric Flair, you had to give them a $20,000 deposit, so you could then go around with their belt.
Good luck with that.
I don't know if that was everywhere. I think that might have just been.
I'm not saying that there's not as much money in indie wrestling, but so presumably they didn't go, you can take it around with you.
Well, no. They just got it as well. Imagine I brought it home and lost it. That'd be quite bad. No, it's in Switzerland, but that's okay because it means I have to go back and defend it. So, but all in all, really a successful weekend. Really amazing people out there. It's really exciting to see what's happening. They've got a big training school there and everything, so it's really cool. And it's setting me up for this weekend as I head off to Montreal to NCW Femme Fatale to be the first ever European girl on their shows. So
and then you're all over the place, aren't you, for the next few years?
And then I'm going to be going down to America for a bit as well. So, but it's Femme Fatale is the focus now. It's exciting but nerve-wracking, and to be the first girl from Europe as well it's huge. So I feel like I've got to go and prove that for the whole of Europe that all the girls rock. So.
No, you'll be absolutely fine.
We'll
what does WAR stand for in this Swiss case? Because
absolutely nothing.
Good joke. Good joke. Because there used to be the WAR promotion that was in Japan that both Mick Foley and Chris Jericho wrestled for used to stand, and this is why I love Japanese wrestling, it used to stand for War and Romance.
Did it?
That's what
wow.
it meant. How cool is that? I mean, if you're going to have a name for a wrestling promotion, be called War and Romance.
That's a little bit like a Jane Austen novel or something, isn't it? That one?
Now, because you're a champion, obviously you are completely excluded from ever being part of Jobber of the Week because you are just awesome. You're not a wrestler, so you're fine. I'm not a wrestler yet, so I'm fine. But we do have to name a Jobber of the Week. A lot of the time, we like to go in the past. Obviously, Mantor fan, if you're watching, we've learnt our mistake. We're never going to pick anyone that you like.
He only likes Mantor, so
he likes other people. This week, I think we have quite conclusively picked someone that no one likes, both WWE management at the moment or any fans in the world. It is the one-man rock band, Heath Slater.
The one-man Southern rock band. They added the Southern just to make you hate him even more.
The one-man Lynyrd Skynyrd tribute act, Heath Slater. I've seen Heath Slater wrestle live, and there's nothing wrong with him. He's a good wrestler. He just does seem to be some kind of charisma vacuum.
He's got a funny face. He's got a weird... It's not just that photo. His face is weird.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
One thing I do like, I quite like his tights, because he's kind of gone down an Iron Maiden Anthrax route with his tights. So his tights are really cool. But unfortunately, cool tights do not make a good wrestler. And I don't think he's won on TV for about 9 months now.
It's something like that. It's a very, very, very long time.
And it's not that people, when people go, oh, you're on TV. Yeah, fine, he is on TV, but he still hasn't won for 9 months. And that is genuine. Can you name, what's his finishing move?
Great question.
That's my point.
Great question.
If you can't name a wrestler's finishing move.
Is that our question of the week?
Yeah, our question of the week. Tweet me at Jim Smallman if you know Heath Slater's finishing move. Don't, because you can just go on Wikipedia, it's easy.
Heath is watching now going, oh, I don't know, it's...
Because we did this for you when you had a fairly long losing streak, and I went, "What's your finishing move?" And you went, "Well, it changes," which is the correct answer in that situation. There needs to be someone who just steals someone's finishing move all the time. The wrestler called the Chameleon just steals his opponent's finishing move.
That would be cool.
Why has no one ever done that gimmick?
I would just do it just to annoy Kurt Angle. Just do all of Kurt's moveset because he gets very upset when people do that.
He did the whole "I invented the Olympic slam." No, he didn't. I believe Manami Toyota invented that move. So, like pretty much every American wrestling male move was invented by Japanese women. So, Heath, we're sorry, mate, but you've got to be our Jobber of the Week. We will remove your jobber status officially if you ever win a match ever again before you are future endeavoured and sent to TNA. So, let's be honest, it's going to happen where you will become TV champion and hold the belt for several years. I have to establish a question of the week. We do this every week. If you want to get in touch with me, at Jim Smallman is my Twitter handle. So at Jim Smallman, send me a message on Twitter. It's on the bottom of the screen now. You can see this week I'm Jim the Honky Tonk Man Smallman. That is purely. We've got a different producer this week. We have got Cockney Welk seller Neil the Ace Stacey, who is we love here at Sports Night Live. He does pretty much every job. Doesn't make a very good cup of tea, but he is wonderful and the most Cockney man in the world. Brilliant. He's not even from London, but he is the most Cockney man, as my guest will back me up on. He is proper white governor. He would be a comedy gimmick in 1980s WWE if he was a wrestler.
He's very kindly agreed to sweep my chimney tonight, which is nice of him. So
he's now speaking in my ear and he's basically swearing. Now, I love Neil, but Neil gave me the name Honky Tonk Man because it's the only wrestler he could remember. He's not normally a wrestling fan, but he has come up with some brilliant questions today. For example, and I'm going to read this from a piece of paper, and this is not going to be the question I'm going to ask you. The US and Intercontinental belts used to mean something in value. Now they're just trinkets. Is Santino the US champion a good idea as the belt is practically worthless? This is a man who hasn't watched wrestling in about 10 years.
I'm going to use the word trinket more often.
I know, the word trinket, he's used in it, but then he does say Jack Swagger's new hair is fantastic. So, you know. Now, the question I want you to answer, at Jim Smallman on Twitter, send me your answer and we'll come up with a little chart next week. Now, we've got The Undertaker against Triple H in Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania. Looks like Shawn Michaels is involved as special guest referee. Mick Foley has said that he wants to be involved as a guest commentator. Who else would you like to see inserted in this match and how? Okay? Could be someone accompanying someone to the ring. It could be anything like that. Who else would you like to see inserted into this match and in what possible capacity? They can even be a guest ring announcer. I'm not bothered. Whatever you think, send me your answers to at Jim Smallman. Because, you know, if we're going to overbook something, let's overbook it properly, even without the help of Vince Russo. Now, before we end the show, lovelies, you, Rhia, are off to Canada and the United States. How many different people are you wrestling for in the next few days?
Some, but I'm going to be wrestling for a couple of promotions in the States as well while I'm over there. So, but yeah, Femme Fatale's the big one.
Yeah.
So.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
You look really excited.
I am. I'm really excited. I mean, it's a huge honour to even like be thought of as part of the show. And yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
And I'm fighting Shenanigans. I don't know why. Every time I hear her name, that's how I say it. I'm like, Shenanigans.
Nice.
It's going to be good.
And Rob McNichol, as always, you've got stuff going on.
Yeah, plenty of glamour for me. I'm not going to Montreal. I'm going to AFC Wimbledon versus Plymouth tonight to work at that game. But yeah, we've always building up to WrestleMania. We try and get a lot going on the Sun's website. So hopefully, and I don't want to name names, but I've got some quite good interviews lined up for around about WrestleMania time. So watch this space.
Excellent. Excellent. Are you going to give us any clues?
Nope.
Any clues whatsoever?
No.
Is one of the people you might be interviewing, we're not entirely sure if he's alive or dead?
No.
No, because he would never do an interview, would he?
No. Oh, yeah, I mean, it's bad enough getting hold of some of their talent, but getting hold of anyone like Undertaker is just... I think he's basically done 2 interviews in 10 years, so just no chance.
Nice.
One of them is a multi-time WWE champion, let's just say that.
Ooh. Multi-time WWE champion.
Yeah.
Booker T. 5-time. I just wanted to do that. One quick question before we go. You know, often in Britain, when they have British wrestling, they will have people who look a little bit like other wrestlers, and then they'll get them to dress up as those wrestlers. So you'll have like a British Undertaker and stuff. I've been to shows like in Leisure Centre.
And they call him the Mortician or something. Yeah.
Have you ever been asked to be the female Sheamus?
Well, it's funny you should mention that. Yes. I'm just going to answer yes.
Really?
Yes.
They've just gone Sheametta.
Yeah, basically. Pretty much.
I just like the idea of you, the person having to say that to you, and you going, no.
Yeah,
Did you agree to it?
Well, no, I didn't agree to it. But, you know, if I could make some good money off it, maybe I would.
Yeah, that's your way into the WWE.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Sheamus' little sister.
Yeah, that
Actually,
works.
I'd probably be his big sister. I don't know. No. Right, whatever.
Either way. Anyway, listen, thank you very much for coming in, as always. We'll see you in a few weeks, because you'll be off on your travels, Rhia O'Reilly. We'll see you fairly soon, I would imagine.
Can't get rid of me,
because we can't get rid of you. Thank you very much both for coming in. I have always, definitely been Jim Smallman since I was born. I have, as always, been your host here on The Slam. We will see you next week on Sports Night Live. And don't forget, the Mick Foley interview is still up on YouTube. Do check that out if you haven't seen it already. We will see you next week, guys. Thanks very much.
Stay ahead of the game with Sports Tonight Live. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Search for Sports Tonight Live on Facebook and like our fan page. Follow Sports Tonight TV on Twitter and tweet us your thoughts and opinions. Sports Tonight Live, it's the platform for the fans.